Alright, I got a Quick Performance 9-inch rear here. I already put the third member in, put the bolts in, put sealer on it. Now I'm going to put the axles in and mount up these the brackets for the brakes, and maybe start installing it. Alright. Alright, so this is the first axle. Alright, a little bit more persuasion. Seat that axle in as much as you can. And then use these bolts. T-bolts. Now when you tighten these down, it's a 19, and that's hole on the axle is too small to get impact or a regular socket in on. So we'll tighten these down, and then we'll do it on the other side, and then put these brackets on for the brakes. Now for this bracket, put in these bolts, these spacers. There's 4 of these. 2 here, 2 here. And then this bracket goes on. And these are these are 9/16. So I'll zip these on. I'll get another wrench and make sure they're tight. Help if I had the right size wrench. Now, I'm not going to put these on until they're on the car, but this is the caliper. Once they put the rear in, I'll mount these. Obviously, they are a hex. They mount just like this. You'll see that later in the video. Okay, now we got both those brackets on, both axles in. We got new steel braided lines here. We gotta go under here, disconnect this brake line right here. Sprayed it real good with PB Blaster, and it's a 9/16 up top, and under here it's 5/8. So once you get that unbolted, clip here, just finagle that off, pulls right out. Alright, so the brake line's done. It's up on the transmission jack. I'm gonna start putting it in now. I'll raise the car back up. Lube up these bushings a little. And we'll tighten down these bolts. the shocks back in, mount them to here, and then we will put the brakes on. The bolts are in the shocks. Now we're going to do the bottoms. Okay, so to get the shocks in, have to take the lower control arm back out and tighten the bolt. Once that's tightened, you put the lower control arm back in, and then we'll move on to the brakes. Okay, so next part, we're going to do the brakes. Install these. I went with the discs. Spray the coating off. Okay. Now these are a 3/8 hex fitting. All right. Now I'm gonna hook the rest of the brake lines up and bleed them, and that's all there's left to do. There's really not they didn't give you any mounts for the brake lines, so I'm probably going to use a large hose clamp on each axle tube just to hold them on. I'll hold them secure on there, and that's all there is to it. The only other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to weld a piece of plate steel, a little flat stock right here, just to stiffen up these lower control arms for when I launch it. I've heard that they bend, so just to give it a little rigidity. But and it's all installed. Add fluid, bleed the brake lines. You're set.